Krishna!
Hare Krishna!
So lovely to see so many wonderful devotees at the Sunday Love Feast. So today we are going to be doing a little panel discussion from a verse from the Bhagavad Gita. Let me fix my screen actually. I'm supposed to project. There we go. Much better.
Nice and big.
Wow.
Wow. See? Now you can see it even from the back of the room. No excuses. I'm just kidding. I did put it up to the highest font. So, yeah, it's always good to do a little panel discussion. Do you have any words of wisdom, advice before we begin?
Any words of wisdom or advice? Well, like Srila Prabhupada said, and I should probably follow that as well. Sit up straight.
Sit properly.
Sit properly. And stay tuned. Because, anytime that anyone's saying anything, it's very easy for things to go over your head. And oftentimes, the things that go over the head are the things we don't want to hear. So pay extra attention to make sure nothing goes over your head.
Yes. So, just want to ask for your blessings. We're only trying to say the message of Srila Prabhupada to the best of our ability, so please forgive us for any offenses that we commit, knowingly or unknowingly. So before we begin, let's start with the invocation prayers, and we can just say this all together. Om Jnana-Timirandasya Jnana-Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Ramayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeyam Shri Guru Shri Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagyatatam Saganadam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadhutam Parijana Saritam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paramaham Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakamahitam Shra Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Govesha Govinda Takarmajana Goram Nidhare Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sudevi Ranamami Haripre Vanshakaladruvyascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Bhavebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vrishayine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya. So, today we're going to be reading a verse from the Chatur Shloki. Has anybody ever heard that term before? I mean, we can kind of guess by the words Chatur, Shloki. Those are a little more common Sanskrit words. Does anybody know what that means? Yes, Nalini Masti.
Chatur means intelligent.
No, not quite.
Four.
Yes.
Chatur.
Four shlokas, 4 verses. Oh no. But does anybody know the Chatur Shloki verses? I'll give you a hint. It's in the second half of the Bhagavad Gita. Yes?
It's 10, 8 to 13.
I think that would be 5 verses though, Prabhu. I think it's 8 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah. So, yes, so we're
I
gonna,
didn't major in math.
oh. So we're going to be reading, actually, Bhagavad Gita 10, verse 9. So the Chaturshloki is kind of like 4 core verses that summarize the Bhagavad Gita. So what they do, they establish the scope of the Lord's opulence, the result of knowing those opulences, how pure devotees worship him, and how he reciprocates with their devotion. If you kind of want to get the essence of Bhakti Yoga, it's kind of like these 4 verses. So we should read all of them, but we're just going to read the second one just for the sake of time. Bhagavad Gita 10:9. Alright. So we can say it and then you can repeat. Majjita Makata Prana Odayanta Parasparam Katayantascha Mam Nityam Tushyanti Charamanti Cha. Anybody want to give it a try?
Majjita Madgata Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam Katayantascha Mam Nityam Tushyanti Charamanti Cha.
Majjita Madgata Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam Bodayantascha Mam Nityam Tushyanti Charamanti Cha.
Majjita Madgata Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam Kathayantascha Mam Nityam Tushyanti Charamanti Cha.
Nice. So these are the synonyms, and let me see if I can get it. No, I can't get it all on the screen. Krish, could you read the translation and give like a little bit of summary?
The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. So I think Krishna is talking about how thinking or talking about him is blissful.
Mm-hmm. That's nice. So it's kind of like describing the activities of pure devotee, right? Their thoughts, their lives, and their conversations. But there are a few questions that I get when I read this translation. What does a pure devotee look like? Does he wear a specific dress or something like that? How do we become a pure devotee? What does a day in the life of a pure devotee look like? Is this an unachievable pipe dream? Can I even accomplish this? Hopefully. But hopefully in this class we'll be able to answer all those questions.
And this is going to be one of those points to not go over your head. At some point, by the end of all this, you should be able to know what a devotee looks like. When you see someone, you should be able to tell, are they a devotee, and can they help me in my journey? So keep that in mind as we're going through.
Yes, that's a good point. So, it's a longer purport. So we will go to the first section. Okay, hopefully the mics are working now. Nalini Masti, can you read the first section? It's going to be the whole paragraph.
Pure devotees, whose characteristics are mentioned here, engage themselves fully in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Their minds cannot be diverted from the lotus feet of Krishna. Their talks are solely on the transcendental subjects. The symptoms of the pure devotees are described in this verse specifically. Devotees of the Supreme Lord are 24 hours daily engaged in glorifying the qualities and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Their hearts and shall I go on?
Yeah, I'll
Their hearts and souls are constantly submerged in Krishna, and they take pleasure in discussing him with other devotees.
So what did you get from that summary?
As you said earlier, these are the activities of devotee, pure devotee, what they would do, how they relish everything about Krishna, talk about it, and think about it.
Thank you.
Now I have a question, just general question for everyone. What are some good qualities that you can think of? And just everyday people, when you meet someone on the street, what are some good qualities that come to your mind? Yeah.
Truthfulness.
Truthfulness, okay. That's a nice quality.
Helpful nature.
Helpful nature, okay, so they're truthful, they're helpful. What are some other good qualities you can think of in people?
Humility.
Humility. It's a tough one.
They're kind.
You're kind.
Honest.
Honest. Keep throwing them out. Cleanliness. That's a big one.
Discipline.
A smile.
Disciplined, a smile. No, yeah, they look friendly. There's a certain friendliness to them.
Happiness.
They're happy. You guys don't meet good people. I guess nowadays it's kind of tough, isn't it?
It is,
Any more good qualities that come to mind? I heard discipline. How about hardworking? Maybe.
Oh yeah.
Some people see that as a good quality. Intelligence. Some people see intelligence as a good quality.
How they present themselves.
Say that again?
How they present themselves.
How they present themselves. Okay. How they present themselves. Let's see. What can I think of? Another quality. What can you think of?
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who
A good balance. Say that again?
Who they associate
Who they associate with. Okay. So they have nice people that they're around.
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say they have a good balance of seriousness, but also playfulness. That could be another positive quality.
Yeah.
So all these different positive qualities we just talked about, and this was just on people that we may have met throughout our lives. We've met people that are funny, we've met people that are helpful, we've met people that are nice. But the thing about a devotee is, because all of these good qualities these people have, where do they come from? Krishna. Krishna is the abode of all of these good qualities. And a devotee, well, I guess let's go straight to the text so you can see all the good qualities that a devotee has. So this comes from Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 5, verse 18, Canto 5, chapter 18, verse 12. And in this, in the purport specifically, Srila Prabhupada puts emphasis on 26 specific qualities of a devotee as explained by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So, I'm just going to go very quickly, and I want you to just really pay attention, stay tuned to all these different good qualities. So they're kind, they don't make anyone their enemy, they're truthful, they're equal to everyone. They don't find fault you can't find fault in him. He's magnanimous, he's mild, he's always clean, he is without possessions, he works for everyone's benefit, he's very peaceful, he's always surrendered to Krishna, he has no material desires, he's very meek, he is steady, he controls his senses, he does not eat more than required, he is not influenced by the Lord's illusory energy, he offers respect to everyone, he does not desire any respect for himself, he is very grave, he is merciful, he is friendly, he is poetic, he is expert, and he is silent. Now, I'll go back to 2 because 2 may have gone over your heads. Magnanimous. I'll start with magnanimous. So looking up magnanimous. Magnanimous has to do with forgiveness. They don't really hold grudges in that sense. And that word it relates to that kind of idea of forgiveness. And when we talk about meek, being meek, because meek does not mean weak, as some people think. One way that I heard it interpreted from a Christian perspective is, because they say the meek will inherit the earth. The meek can be seen as those who have a blade, but do not draw their blade. Which is to say, they have their strength, but they know when to use their strength. They're not always puffed up, but then they're not always cowarding. So that is one interpretation of meek. There's a certain strength to meekness, but you don't just flaunt that strength out in the open all the time. So these are all the good qualities, all 26 good qualities of a devotee. And all the good qualities that we just talked about with, people that we've met on the street. Being kind, having a nice smile, being clean, all these different things. You'll be hard-pressed to find anyone that has all those qualities. Like thinking right now, I don't think you can think of a single person that's disciplined and clean and has a nice smile and is nice to everyone and is forgiving and doesn't make enemies. That's a tall order. That's a very tall order. So difficult to even just be like that in the first place. But in association with Krishna, in association with the devotees, a devotee of Krishna automatically gains all good qualities. The perfect example is sitting right here next to us in his literature, Srila Prabhupada. Now, Srila Prabhupada embodies all of these. And I know we did a panel a while ago where we talked about a lot of the different pastimes of Srila Prabhupada and his devotees. And in going through all those different pastimes, those relishing the love between Srila Prabhupada and his devotees, you could see all these different qualities. You really could. So when we're talking about a devotee, these are some things to look out for. And out of all of these, and we're going to be getting more into it here, he's always surrendered to Krishna. And not just surrendered to Krishna, but Krishna is always in their mind. Now, in the text specifically, in the purport that we're going over right now, another aspect that Srila Prabhupada puts emphasis on. Can we go back to it real quick? Because I want everybody to read it as well. Let's go a little bit higher up. Devotees of the Supreme Lord are 24 hours daily engaged in glorifying the qualities and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. And specifically, they cannot be pulled away from Krishna. A pure devotee cannot be pulled away from Krishna. It is physically impossible to pull them away from Krishna. Now, I'm not there right now. My mind is always getting pulled around to and fro. First my mind is engaged in chanting. Then I hear, oh, there's 2 dogs outside wreaking havoc. True story, that was today. And immediately my mind is pulled away. Oh, no. So, it can be very difficult to keep your mind always fixed on Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, again, he's a prime example that we can talk about when it comes to not being able to get pulled away from Krishna. Even on his morning walks especially, anytime he's walking around, something's always in connection to Krishna. From the steamboat out in the water, to a fly just flying past, to the bees buzzing, everything he sees, he finds Krishna there. Yeah. It is impossible for Srila Prabhupada to not see Krishna everywhere he goes, because he's a pure devotee. Now again, we're not there yet, but what can we do to at least start fixing our mind? To at least start having our attention towards Krishna. Our attention's in so many different places, except for Krishna. Krishna's always the afterthought. Once a week, Sunday. Sundays it'll be Krishna's day. The other days, I have work. There's what's that with the cricket bat? Oh, there's a cricket game coming up. I can't miss it. Oh, I got friends going out. I gotta make sure I'm with my work friends tonight. Make a good impression. All these different things. But now once a week, that's for Krishna. But Krishna shouldn't just be an afterthought. Krishna should be the main thought. Again, that's another aspect of a devotee. Even if a devotee is not 24 hours thinking about Krishna, because it's difficult, at least Krishna is the main thought. Krishna is the main thought, and cricket's the afterthought. I know, tough. Oh, so difficult. So difficult. So, where can we start? Srila Prabhupada gave us the prime recipe steps to at least get us started in that. And it's so simple. Chanting and regulative principles. That's That's our bare minimum that Srila Prabhupada gave us. All of us, we always use the example of drowning in the material ocean. And we are drowning. But if we follow the regulative principles, all 4, and we chant our 16 rounds, that's the lifesaver that Srila Prabhupada threw out to us. We're splashing around, heads under the water. We grabbed onto the lifesaver, a little tube with the rope that's attached to Srila Prabhupada's boat. And Srila Prabhupada's the captain. And we're just holding on by a thread. If you follow the regulative principles and you're chanting every day, you'll be okay. You'll at least be above water. You're not liberated, you're at least above water. The moment you skip out on chanting, the moment you skip out on your regulative principles, now your head's underwater again. And that's the sad reality, Again, the regulative principles and 16 rounds, that's not the end goal. That's the starting point. That is just keeping us alive. We talked about breathing before. And how do we breathe? That's our chanting. That's our life's breath. Our life's breath is Krishna's name. Krishna's name is what gives us life. So the moment we stop chanting Krishna's name, and we wonder why we're suffering. So, another aspect to think about when identifying who is a devotee is, are they following regulative principles? Are they chanting? If they're at least doing those 2 things, okay, that's pretty good. That's not everything, but that's pretty good. That can help me, especially me who's drowning here. At least associate with someone that's not drowning.
Yeah. Govinda just talked about these 26 qualities. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a little overwhelmed. That's a lot of qualities. I might have maybe 1, maybe 2 if I'm on a good day. You gonna have 1? You know what?
I think most of the day.
No, on Sundays we have more, right?
We're trying. I'm it's like a progress skill, right? It's not 0, it's a linear. But
So that's a good point. Yeah, like Sunday, everyone's nice to each other. Everyone's nice on Sunday. Oh, Hare Krishna, Mataji, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. And then the moment you leave the temple, oh my God, let me tell you what this, and him, her said. Oh my Krishna, I cannot believe it. And that's where the gossip starts. So you're right. At least we have Sunday. At least we have Sunday. We can have some of these qualities.
We have 4 hours of Sunday.
4 hours of Sundays where we're at the top of our game.
That's it.
then maybe I have 5 on Sundays. Anyway, so I was listening to a class by His Holiness Haladar Swami, and he was talking about the stages of faith and bhakti. And he was saying that somebody who's kind of like in the beginning stages of bhakti, they may try to focus on cultivating these qualities. They're like, all right, I see humility, I'm going to focus on being humble, and that's their entire focus. But when we practice Krishna consciousness under the guidance of our spiritual teachers, these qualities are naturally going to develop. We can, focus, I'm going to be kind to everyone, but when we become a devotee, we learn all living entities, they have a soul, right? All down from all of us, the little ants, and the sadhu, it sees with equal vision all living entities. When we have that understanding, we treat everyone equally and with kindness. So it's kind of like a natural, reaction. Like when you mix these chemicals, the reaction comes. So it's kind of like you mix in devotional service, chanting, hearing, and out comes humility. Or at least we're trying to do that. The pure devotee doesn't need to consciously think, am I meek today? Am I humble? Am I surrendered? They're just coming naturally. So something I think Srila Prabhupada really emphasized in this section of purport. Devotees are 24 hours engaged in Krishna consciousness. And there are different ways the pure devotees are engaged in Krishna devotional service. I'm going to go back to the text. Nope, wrong tab. I can't see the tab so well, sorry. Right, so their thoughts, their lives, their speech. Is there an analogy that kind of talks about these different things that maybe we've discussed before? BMW.
Oh,
You drive a BMW here today, Prabhu?
I wish, man.
Well, what about the body, mind, words? Did you drive that today?
Yeah.
There you go. So, briefly, I'll go through each of them just because of time. First, you have the body. In the translation, it says that the lives of the pure devotees are fully devoted to devotional service. So, let's play a little game, short game. I will name a body part, and I want to give a couple of examples at least of how that body part can be used in devotional service. Hands.
Clapping.
Yay. Yes. Oh, chanting. Okay, I thought you were snapping your fingers there. Anything else?
Cutting vegetables for prashadam.
Cutting vegetables. Did you cut vegetables today?
No.
Oh.
Next week.
Next week. What about your legs?
Walking.
Jumping.
Dancing, walking, jumping. Good one. What about your eyes? Taking darshan. Anything else?
Reading.
Reading. Yes, that's good.
Spine.
What?
Spying?
Fine.
Spying on Krishna.
I'm gonna think about that one. What about your head?
Brain.
Holding obeisances.
Oh, that's the one I was thinking of. Offering the obeisances, right? You want to get the contact with the forehead. Anything else you can use your head? Maybe something in your head? Did not?
Brain.
Brain. What can you use your brain for?
Thinking about understanding.
Thinking about Krishna. Hmm?
Beat it.
You can.
Beat the mind.
Sure. That's one. What about your tongue?
Chanting.
Eat nice prasad.
Eat nice.
Yes. Prashadam. That's the main one, really. What about your back? I'm getting to the harder ones now.
Making sure that you lay down and sleep at night at a reasonable time so you can wake up in time for Lord.
Mm. What about carrying something on your back?
Oh, that too.
Yeah, that you can do.
Yeah.
What about your arms?
Surrender.
Surrender! Oh! Yeah, I think that would be good. Well, I think we should end on that. You know, there's the famous verse where it describes Marisha Maharaj, how he used his entire body in the Lord's service. And it goes through each body part and how he used it in the Lord's service. And he engaged all his senses in the Lord's service. And he used what he had for devotional service. So that's a pretty easy, self-explanatory one, I would say. Then we have the mind, right? The thoughts of the pure devotees dwell in the Supreme Lord. That means Krishna's in the mind always. You know, last week Gopi Bob gave a class on the power of our thoughts. You know, there's various stimulants in the modern world, you know, especially through the phone, movies, sports, entertainment, social media, all in one package. And it's so small, you know? I can just put it in my pocket, unfortunately. And you know, we kind of lost control of this. And when we let these stimulants rule over us, we lose control of the thoughts. But it's very difficult to control the thoughts. You know, I have trouble with this personally. But the key that she mentioned during the class was when we start contemplating those thoughts, then they become more prominent. So we should kind of like screen our thoughts as much as possible. Bhagavad Gita 270 says, a person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still, can achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. So we let the thought flow into our mind, but then we let it flow right out. You know, in one ear, out the other is, I think, the common saying. So intelligence means to know which thoughts are to be pinned and which are to be binned. That was from a little booklet that I have. It's like a daily quote and based on Bhagavad Gita verses. And that's the one that stuck with me. The rest of them, I read, oh, that's nice. And then I don't remember it. But that one stuck with me.
Is it Chaitanya?
Yes, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu's, yeah.
That's a nice one.
Then we have the words. So the pure devotees, they derive great satisfaction and bliss from enlightening one another about the activities of Krishna. I was reading this article, and it was titled The Day in the Life of a Devotee. And it was written in 1994, which was before my time, before even your time, before many of our times. And it went through what a typical day in the life of a brahmachari looked like. You know, there was a lot of things, and I was like overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, just so many things to do. But one thing that was mentioned during the article is that during prasadam, they would be taking their breakfast prasadam. Devotees wouldn't be doing anything except for talks about the activities of the Lord, or listening to a lecture of Srila Prabhupada's, or listening to someone reading from one of Srila Prabhupada's books. That's the only thing. Nothing, oh yeah, how did you sleep last night, Prabhu? What do you think about the weather tomorrow? It's going to get a little chilly, right? None of that. So, and if you think about the modern family, a lot of times they're watching something while they eat, or even if they're sitting together on the dining room table, they're on their phone, going on Instagram, oh yeah. And, you know, it's kind of sad actually, right? Yeah.
which is because you remember the qualities that we talked about before. What was this 26th quality, the last quality that was on that list?
Be silent.
Silence. But then how does this make sense? All these devotees, they're saying so many things. Because that's not what silent means. They say, silence is gold. Silence is golden. Something like that.
Yes,
Yeah, silence is golden. And that's true. Because if we think about the golden avatar of Krishna, Goda, gold, Gauranga!
Gauranga!
Anything centered around the glories of Gauranga, of Krishna, of Radha, of the devotees. That is what silence means. It means silence from nonsense. So all these things that we were talking about with how's the weather, oh man, you see that Mets game the other day? See how the Lakers really gave it to them? Wow, that's great. Oh, let me tell you about this, the most recent beef between Kim Kardashian and So all these things, it's nonsense. That's what should be silenced. Silence means no nonsense. Only Krishna. Only his devotees. And that's how a devotee is silent. So these devotees, their silence is gold. Because their words are focused on the Supreme, not on the nonsense.
Yeah.
So that's why the 26th quality is silence. Probably the hardest one. Because to be silent means to let all that nonsense go. Let all that nonsense go. Jack.
Uh-huh. Silence.
Silence.
I don't know. But why are all three important for devotion? Can't I just engage my body and forget about my mind, forget about my words? It's a cyclical process, right? Pure thoughts purify our actions, and pure actions purify our thoughts. So when we're hearing about devotional service, we're developing some desire to engage in devotional service, and then when we engage in devotional service, we're also purifying the thoughts. So it's kind of like a cyclical. And you can also flip the coin and say, if we're doing some pure action, like sweeping the temple, but our thoughts are not pure, like, oh man, that one person I like is going to see me sweeping so nicely, and they're going to think, wow, look at me sweeping, something like that, I don't know.
Wow, look at you sweeping.
Our thoughts are not pure, It will not have the same, it will have some benefit, but it won't have the same benefit. That cycle is going to be broken. So, what does 24 hours look like practically? And I just think of the example of Srila Prabhupada. One time one of his disciples was talking to Prabhupada, and he sees Prabhupada close his eyes. And he's like, this is my opportunity. He's falling asleep. Let me tiptoe out the door. And then he's at the door. He opens the door. And he goes through the door. And Srila Prabhupada says, where are you going? He wasn't sleeping. He was in samadhi, thinking of Krishna. The pure devotee is conscious of Krishna 24 hours. That's the power of Srila Prabhupada. Now, we're not at that level. We have so many responsibilities. So what can we do to help us get to that point? I found if we dedicate some time in the morning to spiritual activities, the effects will permeate throughout the day. That article I was reading, half the article was just the morning program. And it would go through all the details, how they would wake up, how they would get ready, what they would do during the morning program. And it kind of like, that whole effects kind of just ooze throughout the day. And you kind of start the day on the right foot, that's what they say. Srila Prabhupada emphasized the importance of the morning program. We have a morning program every morning, temple, 6 a.m., be there, be square. But even if you can't make it to the temple, you should have some sort of morning program at your home. Just something little, chant some japa maybe, and it will help you start your day right. Now, I think, a lot of time, not really. So I think we can go to the next section of the report. Navya, can you read until devotional service? I'll tell you when to stop.
Okay. In the preliminary stage of devotional service, they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself, and in the mature stage, they are actually situated in the love of God. Once situated in that transcendental position, they can relish the highest perfection, which is exhibited by the Lord in his abode. Lord Chaitanya likens transcendental devotional service to the sowing of a seed in the heart of the living entity. There are innumerable living entities traveling throughout the different planets of the universe. And out of them, there are a few who are fortunate enough to meet a pure devotee and get the chance to understand devotional service.
Okay. What did you understand from that section?
Well, what mostly stood out to me was how, like, there's so many things you could be doing right now, but, like, we choose to be here on a Sunday and actually put in our time to develop our relationship with Krishna.
Oh, that's very nice. I actually like that a lot. Thank you.
So, one thing to really kind of take a look at, a deep dive into, is that first line, preliminary stage of devotional service. So where does our journey start? And for a lot of us, especially those of us that weren't born into Krishna consciousness, we can kind of reflect on this a bit, you know? How did you even get here in the first place? For me, it was my sister. My association with my sister, she brought me here. And I'm forever grateful for that. For some other devotees, they just happened to come across one of those ticking time bombs. You know, that's what Srila Prabhupada said before. You know, these Bhagavad Gitas and Srimad Bhagavatams that go out, they're ticking time bombs. And even if the person that you get it to isn't the one that reads it, it'll get where it needs to go. There's been plenty of stories of, oh, I pulled it out of the trash can and I just took it home and read it. Oh, my husband or my wife was going to throw it out and I found it on the desk. Oh, you know, I was just walking through campus and it was on the floor. You know, all these people, even though they're not the ones that directly interacted with it in the first place, these Srila Prabhupada's message get to where it needs to go. So regardless of how we got here in the first place, how we came to Krishna consciousness in the first place, there is still a starting point. And that starting point always has to do with a devotee. A devotee is always involved. We don't come to Krishna consciousness on our own. That's just simply how it is. There's always a devotee involved. Even if you don't know how that devotee is involved. Again, maybe you just found it in the trash can. A devotee was involved one way or another. So, and Srila Prabhupada talks about it in chapter 7, verse 30 as well. Chapter 7 specifically, it talks a lot about how someone can become fully Krishna conscious, but in this purport, he does explain that the beginning of Krishna consciousness is association of persons who are Krishna conscious. Such association is spiritual and puts one directly in touch with the Supreme Lord. So that was Srila Prabhupada's direct words. The beginning of our journey is in association. But now, what happens after that? You continue the association. Because the association, we talked about all these different things. Associating with the devotees is going to keep us firm in our faith. It's very important. And then what's the end goal? The supreme abode. Which implies what? Association. Krishna's not by himself. Krishna's always with his devotees. So if you see, association is the beginning of our journey. It keeps us steady in our path and is that transcendental end goal. Until we get to that supreme association with Krishna. So again, association is always going to be important in our journey. It's always going to be important in our life. Now, along with that, you know, we talked about association, but what do devotees actually do in association? Because they're not talking about the weather, they're not talking about sports, they're not talking about their jobs. We heard about a day in the life of a devotee. You know, what are they doing all day? From the moment that they get up to the times that they're eating together, everything that they do is centered around Krishna. The things they talk about, the jokes that they tell, the stories they tell, Krishna is always at the focal point of all of that discussion. And that's what association really means. Association means Krishna is the center. It doesn't mean anything else. So that's another point to hold on to grab. This person that I see, yes, he's chanting his rounds. Yes, he is following the regulative principles. But now, oh, and yes, he has some good qualities. But now, what is his focus? Is his focus Krishna? Or is Krishna an afterthought? Because you could be doing everything else right. You could be reading. You could be chanting. You could be following these regulative principles. But if you're doing it in a vacuum, Srila Prabhupada explains how important association is. And yes, you are associated with Srila Prabhupada when you're reading his text. That is true. He is present in his literature, in his message. He's still there with us. But Srila Prabhupada never told any of his devotees, go out, find a forest, stay by yourself, and read my books. He didn't say that to any of his devotees. Even him creating ISKCON, he recognized the importance of association, of having some kind of community to stay together. So that's why this is the next thing you should be thinking about. This person that I see, they're chanting, they're following regulative principles, they're reading. But now, like someone said, who are their friends? Who are they associating with? Because if their association, through their association, you can tell what his focus is. Because if someone's by themselves, their focus is themselves. Especially in this age of Kali, it's very, very easy to get stuck in our heads. To get stuck up something. So, again, who are their friends? Who are they associating with? Is Krishna the focus? Is Krishna the center? These are things that we should be thinking now. Where was I before I start ranting too much? Oh, and again, yes, they discuss Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. And what does it really mean to discuss Srimad Bhagavatam? We're going to get into that later. There's a whole section where we're going to get into that. But again, these are the things we should be thinking about with our association. We need to be around the devotees. We are not strong enough to practice on our own, especially in this age of Kali. We are not strong enough to be devotees on our own. We need help.
Yeah. And for me, I guess the last line of the purport stuck out to me. There are innumerable living entities traveling throughout the different planets of the universe. And out of them, there are a few who are fortunate enough to meet a pure devotee and get the chance to understand devotional service. And Bhaja Govinda was talking about that. Usually there's like some sort of meeting, and that's how they met the devotees, right? However you got there, that meeting is essential. You know, although wood, it has an innate potential to burn, right? It has it in it. Unless that piece of wood contacts a spark or a fire, it'll just be wood, that's all. And no matter how dry, no matter how inflammable, it's not going to burn. So each of us needs to contact someone on fire with Krishna consciousness so that our spiritual potential may be realized. You know, in fact, it only takes one moment with a pure devotee to set us on the spiritual path. And on Wednesdays in our calls, we've been reading the 22nd chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita in Madhya Lila, and which talks about the process of devotional service. And I'm going to read from Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 2254. I mean, this is a pretty, I think, famous verse a little bit. Sadhu Sangha, Sadhu Sangha, Sadhu Shastrikaya, Lamata Sadhu Sangha, Sadhu Siddhihaya. And it says, the verdict of all revealed scriptures is that by even a moment's association with a pure devotee, one can attain all success. How long is that moment? Specifically, there is a specific length that that moment is. It's in the purport, but I'm not going to spoil the answer. Does anybody know the exact length? Blink of an eye. How long is a blink of an eye?
You gotta get a numerical down to the decimal.
1 second.
Less than 1 second.
Okay, I heard.
One. It's not quite that short.
You're the closest one so far.
Probably, yeah.
Half a second.
Less than half a second.
A quarter of a second.
Less than a quarter of a second.
Oh!
Tenth of a second.
Less than a
He's teasing it. He's teasing it.
You're very close.
You're so close.
You're so
Give him
close.
one more guess.
1/100th of a second.
No! You're the wrong way.
0.075.
0.075? Okay. We're 1/10 was the closest. It's actually 1/11. We got to do one more. 1/11 of a second. And it's even said in the Srimad Bhagavatam that even half of a moment is sufficient. So 1/22nd of a second. I don't even know if that must be a blink of an eye. I can't even comprehend that. And Srila Prabhupada, he has said that the best gift a spiritual master can bestow upon the disciple is the gift of devotional service. And that's that moment, that golden opportunity we have to take advantage of, right?
No, I'm just going to say one thing.
Yeah, sure.
Amazingly, the whole translation of the purport could be different, but the purport is just pointing that part only.
Yes.
It's so cool, man.
Srila Prabhupada got to go more detail, but we have to know how long this moment is, right? That's the beauty of Srila Prabhupada's text, right? And so that golden opportunity. Okay, if you're somewhere and somebody puts $1 million in cash, no strings attached, in front of you, are you going to think, I don't know about the current inflation rate. What is the actual value of cash these days? Nobody uses cash, Yeah, no, you're going to give me that money, right? In 11th of a second, you're going to take that money. You won't hesitate. It's a similar way. We need to take any opportunity that we get with a pure devotee. And Bhaja Govinda mentioned Srila Prabhupada's books is a good way. And Srila Prabhupada said in a letter in 1975, there's 2 ways of association. Vani, Vapu. Vani is words, Vapu is physical presence. So we should take advantage of the Vani because it's eternal. For example, Bhagavad Gita is the Vani of Lord Krishna. Krishna was present 5,000 years ago, but the Bhagavad Gita is still here today. So every time you're reading Srila Prabhupada's books, every time you're going on YouTube and watching Srila Prabhupada's lectures, you're associating with the Vani. And even with that great value, it's so easy to access these days with the internet. I mean, I could pull up any one of Srila Prabhupada's books just right here. How many people take that opportunity? How many people, for example, are in the entire globe? Approximately.
9 billion-ish.
It's
I think it's at 8.2.
8.2, 8.3, something like that. Not quite 9 billion yet.
I recently looked it up.
Oh, that's good. How about the United States?
330 million.
350, about 350. Okay, let's get even smaller. How about in the city of Orlando?
600,000.
100,000.
I think it depends actually on the city limits on how you take it, but the way I looked it up, it was 300,000. So in between the two answers. How many people are in this room? 50? 50,000? I don't think we can fit 50,000 even when we stack them on top of each other. I mean, I guess if you count all the little minuscule living entities, we might get up to 100,000.
Yeah, they're there.
They're there. So, not a large percentage, In Bhagavad Gita 7:19, Krishna says, after many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about how the living entities are in different stages. In the beginning, one is trying to give up material attachment, and then maybe you're attracted to something like impersonalism, and eventually they reach their stage of bhakti yoga. Whatever stage they may be in, some people are just not ready for the knowledge. It's a true fact, not everybody is ready. C.C. Madhyalila 19:151 says, according to their karma, all living entities are wandering throughout the entire universe. Some of them are being elevated to the upper planetary systems, and some are going down into the lower planetary systems. Out of many millions of wandering living entities, one who is very fortunate gets an opportunity to associate with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. By the mercy of both Krishna and the spiritual master, such a person receives the seed of the creeper of devotional service. One time I was in California with Prasheshika Prabhu, and he was giving a seminar on book distribution. And one of the tips that he gave was to start each interaction with a, hello, how are you doing?
Hi.
Hi. No, none of you are waving back.
I don't talk to strangers. Stranger danger.
Strange. I think you know me by now, Prabhu. I can try again. Hey. Oh, there we go. We get some nice friendly faces. And starting with a wave, it helps you distinguish between the ripe and the unripe fruits. If they wave back, they're generally more likely to engage with you. And if they're kind of like, oh, you know what? Hello, Oh yes, this is a very important phone call. Sorry,
I just
sorry.
got a call. What are the chances?
Maybe they're a bit of an unripe fruit right now. But the most important thing was to leave everyone with a good impression. A simple way, you know, people see that as a friendly thing, right? Hey, you know. So, you know, years down the line, they might see a devotee again, and they remember that, you know, that it was a positive interaction last time. And then this time, they're ready and they get one of Srila Prabhupada's books. And so, and sometimes you may interact with them and you get a book, but then it sits on the shelf for a little bit. And because you're not ready to receive that knowledge. But that book still has potency. It get the seed of the creeper of devotional service. And funnily enough, that is what's talked about in the next section of the purport. If I can find my mouse. Yes. So this is like trying to finish up the paragraph. It's kind of like a longer section. So I'll break it up into 2 readers, whichever you want to read, until you kind of feel like it, I guess.
This devotional service is just like a seed, and it is sown in the heart of a living entity. And if he goes on hearing and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, that seed fructifies, just as the seed of a tree fructifies with regular watering. The spiritual plant of devotional service gradually grows and grows until it penetrates the covering of the material universe and enters into the Brahmajyoti effulgence in the spiritual sky. In the spiritual sky also that plant grows more and more until it reaches the highest planet, which is called Golok Vrindavan, the supreme planet of Krishna.
That's the first half. Anything you get from that?
Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Growing up when I was little, in my room, one of the posters that I had, it was based on the Bhagavatam's description of the universe, both the material and the spiritual worlds. It would have like all the planetary systems, it would have an Antishesh holding up all the universes, and then from the earthly planet, it would actually have that creeper growing, but instead of just being the actual creeper, they use it as the Mahamantra, growing up and up and up. Through the Brahmajyoti, you can laugh and sneer at the Mayavadis who are stuck there, and then you keep on going up into Goloka Vrindavan. So, yeah.
Nice.
Mahamantra's key.
Yeah. Then, Avi, can you finish up the paragraph?
Ultimately, the plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and rests there. Gradually, as the plant grows fruits and flowers, the plant of devotional service also produces fruits, and the watering process in the form of chanting and hearing goes on. This plant of devotional service is fully described in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya chapter 9. It is explained here that when the complete plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, one becomes fully absorbed in love of God. Then he cannot live even for a moment without being in contact with the Supreme Lord. Just as a fish cannot live without water. In such a state, the devotee actually attains the transcendental qualities in contact with the Supreme Lord.
Any summary, quick summary?
So in the beginning part, it is saying that you should go back down a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's a gradual process, and as it was mentioned before, that once we associate with devotees, and Bhaja Govinda was saying, we follow the regulative principles, all those qualities will naturally come along. And this is what it says, like, for example, the plants would bear flowers and fruits, and eventually it would be by just watering the process. The process is chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Thank you. So, before we were talking about how a moment's association with pure devotee will give spiritual success. You know, throughout Srila Prabhupada's years of travels, he met many different types of people. Reporters, inquisitive hippies, rich benefactors, and even those kind of like against the Hare Krishna movement. They all had moments with Srila Prabhupada, but not all of them became devotees. Why? What's the reason?
Wasn't there time yet?
It wasn't their time. That could be there, but there's maybe other reasons too.
Shraddha.
Shravana?
Shraddha.
Shraddha. Faith. Yeah. There was no faith. they didn't continue the effort, right? There's that common English saying, you reap what you sow. If you put the seed in the ground and you don't give it any water, any nutrients, will it grow? No. See, he's the expert. So even though you get that mercy from the spiritual master, you have to put in that effort to cultivate the seed.
And there's plenty of examples in Shastra of that. Valmiki for one. He used to be a robber, killing people, stealing their stuff, taking their money. He comes across the devotees. After he comes across the devotees, one thing leads to another, but they give him a mantra. Ram was too much, so what did they give him?
Mara.
Mana, death. But he only became purified because he took the instruction and he started chanting Mara until he fell in love with Ram. So that's one example of how you need to actually water the plant to have it fructify. Another example, Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj went into the forest, came across Narada Muni. But that wasn't it. That wasn't the end of the story.
Yeah.
No. Because Dhruva Maharaj actually had to implement the practice. Narada Muni, he even told Dhruva Maharaj, you're a Kshatriya. You're so young. Maybe this isn't for you. And what that do? That got his blood boiling. That is Kshatriya blood. Woo! Hot and bothered.
Yeah.
And he practiced. And he followed the instruction of Narada Muni. And only because he followed that instruction, he achieved liberation. So there's so many different examples. You don't just come across devotees or come across Krishna on a whim and just achieve liberation. There is still a deliberate process that you go through. No one becomes a devotee by accident. And actually, with your permission,
Yes.
chapter 3, verse 43 of the Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 3, verse 43. In this verse, samstabhyatmanam atmanam. Those three words, there's three words put together. The way Srila Prabhupada translates that, in the transliteration, is by steadying the mind by deliberate intelligence. And looking at the translation, if you see the way the whole translation is laid out, thus knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind and intelligence, O mighty armed Arjuna, one should steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, Krishna consciousness, and thus by spiritual strength conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. Deliberate spiritual intelligence. Because again, Krishna consciousness does not happen by accident. It does not happen by accident. You need to take action. You need to want to become a devotee. You need to actually follow through with watering the plant, changing the fertilizer, taking care, making sure you pluck out the weeds, making sure that you're around other people that can also help you take care of that plant. This is that sadhana. This is that deliberate endeavor. That is Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness means deliberate. It means intentional. It does not mean accidental. It does not mean by a whim. Srila Prabhupada has talked about before, those that take Krishna consciousness whimsically. Oh, I go here and I go there, I do what I want, I follow Krishna in my heart. What is it that Veer Krishna Maharaj says? Something that he talks about is, so Krishna in your heart told you to go to the bar and have a drink? I don't know about that one. But still, it's purposeful. You do not become a devotee by accident. And I want you to grab onto that one as well. Because that's not something anyone wants to hear. You actually have to try to reach Krishna? I have to put in effort? Not for me. Too much. He's asking too much of me. You're telling me I have to put in work If I want to get somewhere in life, no, absolutely not.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. And along with that, I guess I have one little short rant along with that. Because being deliberate, it's also important to be deliberate in the people we see, the places we go, and the things that we do. And working with addiction, because I work with addiction, that's my main clientele. That is something that they hear from beginning to end of their treatment. People, places, and things. Why? Because in their addictive personality, in the struggles that they're going through, with whatever drugs they're addicted to, whatever substances they're addicted to, the people that they're hanging out with are making their problems worse. The places that they're going are making their problems worse. And the things that they're doing are making their problems worse. In this room, I see addicts. And why do I see addicts? And why do I hear that? Am I being too loud?
No.
Is it low outside?
But yes, I see addicts. Why? Because, again, we're not all 24 hours engaged in Krishna. Not every single person that we're with is good for our Krishna consciousness. Not everywhere we go, having to go out to work, maybe some of us are studying at university, maybe some of us have different obligations and different things that put us in bad places. Not every single place we go is good for our Krishna consciousness. And not all the things we do, from the things we watch on TV, to the things we see on our phones, that's always with us, even in the bathrooms, to the things that we're thinking about that are always with us. All those things that we're involved with are not good for our Krishna consciousness. And I know some of you guys have heard me rant about addiction, but I won't go too deep into that. But yes, this means also being intentional with the people that you're seeing, the places you're going, the things that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And again, talking about a devotee, you identify someone. Are they a devotee? What qualities do they have? What things are they doing? Who are they associating with? Is Krishna the focus of their life? And now, where are the places that they're going, and what are the things that they're doing? Because our mission is to serve Srila Prabhupada. If they are just keeping to themselves 24/7, just keeping to themselves 24/7, not engaging with the other devotees, not helping Srila Prabhupada's movement, not helping and serving the devotees, something to think about. If they're doing everything else right, but now they're going out to the club, they're going out to the bar, they're doing all these crazy things, something else to think about.
Mm.
So yes, these are the deliberate things we need to have in our mind. These are the actions, the intentionality we need to have in regards to our sadhana. Because all of this comes back to sadhana.
Mm.
Even thinking about who we're with, where we're going, what we're doing. All of this comes back to our sadhana.
Yeah. So, I think when reading that section, it's talking about cultivating the seed, right? It goes up and up and up and up and up till it reaches Goloka Vrindavan. So what are those efforts that we should be making to cultivate the seed? Oh, it's almost time. It's a little bit of a reminder that maybe we need to hurry up a little bit. So I'll give the answer. Hearing and chanting, that seed fructifies. Of course, we should always be hearing, always be chanting, but the quality is important as well. What is more beneficial to the plant? Clean water, dirty water?
Water.
We're getting to that point, but what is more beneficial, clean water or dirty water?
Clean water.
Clean water, yay, yay. So,
Plants do like nutrient-rich water. Phosphorus is a pollutant.
Anyway,
They're
a little bit of a sidetrack, I
They're
think.
living in dirt.
So, I think though we should try to purify our chanting as much as possible. Give our bhakti creeper the best water, make it grow faster. Same thing with hearing. Should only be hearing things that are as pure as possible. But there kind of has to be a little bit of balance, right? We don't want to be too lax, then we won't make any advancement. But we also don't want to put too much pressure on ourselves to be perfect, because then what happens? We get discouraged, we don't make any advancement. There has to be, what I heard was healthy pressure. Healthy pressure to continue to improve our quality. Something you know you can accomplish. But what if our quality is not there? Do it anyways, right? Balash was saying, dirty water, it's still water, right? And it will slowly grow our devotional creeper, which will help us purify the water. It's like also a cyclical process, you know. You do the action, it increases your faith, which helps you increase your quality, which makes you do the action more, and the cycle continues. And so, chant. Even if there's no focus, chant and it will come. Dance. Even if there's no ecstasy, dance and it will come. Hear. Even if there's no understanding, hear and it will come. Serve. Even if there's no humility, serve and it will come. Make that effort, and Krishna will help you with the rest.
And at least, coming back to the analogy of the plants, of the kripa, if you're outside farming, you're not going to sit there for months with a chair watching a plant grow. It's like watching paint dry. And that's part of that pressure. If you're sitting there watching this plant, you're not going to see it grow. It's going to be discouraging. You're putting all this effort, you're putting all this focus, all this attention, and nothing's happening. All those YouTube tutorials, nothing's happening. It's just sitting there. I should have had fruit by now. But a lot of that also comes down to having a certain faith. If the people you're with is good, if the things you're doing are good, if the places you're going are good, if the devotees you're associating with, their focus is Krishna, they have good association, they're serving Srila Prabhupada's message, if you're chanting your rounds, if you're following the regular principles, if you're doing everything as instructed, if you're doing everything as instructed, the plant will grow. And farmers know this. You know, farmers, how do they learn? Actually, my family comes from a long line of farmers, apparently. Didn't know that until recently. And things get passed down, you know. My dad taught by his dad, taught by his dad's dad. And they follow instruction. They know that if I do these things, this plant will grow. And they were successful in their endeavors. So same thing for us. If we're doing everything as we should be, just have faith. Your kripa will grow.
So, we got one more paragraph left in the purport. Oscar, you want to read this section?
Can you see that, Oscar?
Yeah, I can see it. Make it bigger.
Bigger? I literally cannot make it bigger.
The Srimad Bhagavatam is also full of such narrations about the relationship between the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam is very dear to the devotees. As stated in the Bhagavatam itself, 12, 13, 18. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavavanam Priyam. In this narration, there is nothing about material activities, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation. Srimad Bhagavatam is the only narration in which the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord and his devotees is fully described. Thus, the realized souls in Krishna consciousness take continual pleasure in hearing such transcendental literatures, such as a young boy and girl take pleasures in association.
So, Srimad Bhagavatam is important, right? That's kind of what this is emphasizing.
And I guess now that we're getting into the Srimad Bhagavatam, I know maybe not all of us are familiar exactly with the format, but Srimad Bhagavatam, relatively simple. Questions and answers. Questions and answers spanning through multiple conversations, through multiple different yugas, all centered around Krishna, around the Supreme. And not just Krishna, because Srimad Bhagavatam is about Krishna and his devotees. You can see it all throughout the stories, the pastimes that are told. The Srimad Bhagavatam focuses on the devotees. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that in reading through the Srimad Bhagavatam, we also get a better understanding. We get a chance to relish. We get a chance to see what it's like for Krishna and his devotees. What the devotees are like, how they engage. All of this being experienced through the Srimad Bhagavatam. And along with that, you know, well, I don't know if we have time for this part.
Maybe a shortened version?
Shortened version. Intention is important. when you're reading through the Srimad Bhagavatam, and this is a point that we should have clear is, why are you reading the Srimad Bhagavatam? Because if you're reading it just so you can have knowledge to spit out at people, the important stuff's going to go over your head. But if you're really trying to understand, really trying to relish, Krishna and his devotees, then you will really gain that understanding. And there's some examples of this, like Dhritarashtra. He heard Bhagavad Gita through Sanjaya. Arjuna heard it from Krishna, but both of them had very different experience. Arjuna took everything to heart and came out for the better. But what was Dhritarashtra's intention? Oh, are my kids okay? Are my sons okay? And because of his intention, everything went over his head. All of that Bhagavad Gita that Krishna spoke, over his head. Another example, Keshav Kashmiri from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He was also incredibly learned, in Shastra and all the information that he was reading and he was understanding, but all of that made him proud. Why? Because he was just collecting data. Just kind of reading through, ooh, this is a good point. Oh, let me save this for the boys. Yeah. Or oh man, this is gonna make me look so good. Make me look so good. That's not a good intention. Intention should not be to flex your brain muscles. We don't have anything to flex, especially in Kali Yuga, the most bottom of the barrel Yuga. All of us, weak bodies, slow brains. We're so slow we have to read. They didn't have to read back then. Listen once, understood everything. But now we're thinking, oh, look at me, I'm so smart. I read so many books. Dumb. But regardless, intention. Intention is important. And along with intention, the cleansing process of Srimad Bhagavatam. Because oftentimes, everyone here has probably thought this before, at least once. You come into a class, then you start hearing some key words. Prahlad Maharaj. Oh, I know what this is about. I've heard this already. Let me start chanting. I already know this message. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Or, he said Arjuna, Krishna, chapter 4. I already know what this is about. I don't need to listen. Or, Krishna and his cowherd boys. Oh, I've already heard this before. I don't need to listen. Yes, you've heard it before. But even Srila Prabhupada, and there's such a nice video. We're not going to put the video. But Srila Prabhupada, the devotees asked him, Srila Prabhupada, you're reading your own purports? Why? You wrote it. Why are you reading it? Srila Prabhupada said, every time that he reads it, he gets something new. Because those aren't his words. Those are Krishna's words. Krishna told me what to write on paper. So because Krishna's the one that wrote this, every time I read it, I get something new. And so I must have also probably experienced this. The introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, I've read, I think, like 3 or 4 times now. And every time I read it, I get something else. Because so many things go over my head. The first time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time. By 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th time, I'm still going to be pulling new things. So even if you've heard it already, repeated listening and repeated sharing, it still cleanses the heart. Another reason that even if you know the pastime, still listen to it anyways. Still be attentive. Because even if you hear the glories of Prahlad Maharaj 20 times, every time it cleanses. 21, it cleanses again. 22, it cleanses again. 23, it cleanses again. That's the glory. That's part of the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. Part of the glories is you can listen to the same pastime indefinitely and purify the soul.
Yeah, I think because of time, I'm gonna skip a couple references, but I just want to do a couple key drive home points. Again, what did Bhaja Govinda say at this? Are you sitting straight? No. I saw a few adjustments there. So now you're sitting up straight. Drive home points. Take them. Remember them. Bhaja Govinda was talking about Srimad Bhagavatam. I want to quote Srimad Bhagavatam 4:22-23 in the purport. Srila Prabhupada says, "One cannot live outside the society of devotees. One must live in the association of devotees, where there is constant chanting and hearing glories of the Lord. The Krishna conscious movement is started for this purpose, so that hundreds of ISKCON centers may give people a chance to hear and chant, to accept the spiritual master, and to disassociate themselves from persons who are materially interested, for in this way one can make solid advancement in going back home, back to Godhead. You know, there's a reason they say if you want habits to stick, you find a friend to do it with you. You know, the last line of this purport, thus the realized souls in Krishna consciousness take continual pleasure in hearing such transcendental literature, just as a young boy and girl take pleasure in association. You know, when you first get into a relationship, you're messaging each other all the time. Oh, here's what I had for breakfast. Oh my gosh, when can I see you next?
No, you have a nice voice.
No, the verse.
Oh, verse. Verse.
The purport 4:22-23. So, in the Association of Good Devotees, it's the same way. We're kind of like social creatures. However much I don't want to admit it, I'm kind of an introvert, but we are social creatures. But since coming to the temple here, I find myself eagerly waiting for the next time I get to Association devotees. I leave the temple and I'm like, I can't wait for tomorrow when I get to associate with the devotees, even though I just saw them. You know, it's kind of like funny like that. And how we association, like Bhaja Govinda, he said this, but I want to drive it home. How we associate is most important of all. Association with devotees means association with the Lord. So if we associate properly, we reap great benefits, you know. Different proper ways to associate, which discuss. And it's especially important for the leaders in the temple to show how to lead by examples. If I talk about here, you shouldn't eat sugar, and then you see me in the prasadam downing like 3-4 cups of sweet rice. Are you gonna believe me?
It's stevia, it's okay.
It's not stevia, it's not the same. So, if I go up here and talk, this is how to associate, and then you see me like blah blah blah, running off my mouth. You know, that means, you know, if I'm talking about association devotees, that means I should be associating with devotees, talking about Krishna as much as possible. Association, you know, also means checking up on our devotees, check on their rounds, their sadhana, encourage them in Krishna consciousness, find friends, you know. I find here one of the 26 qualities was kind to everyone. I found everybody here is very kind. It's very nice. Yes.
Okay, real quick, we have like 2 minutes. I want you to just shout out something you're going to take home. Everyone here has to take something home from this lecture. Prashadam. Okay, someone else. Association. Something else. What are you taking home?
Is equal to 11th of second.
Okay, 11th second. That's all it takes. Something else. Intention. That's a big one. Service.
Make sure you continue
Only service here too.
Watering the seed.
The seed. How?
By association.
By association. How else?
Satisfaction.
How else? Okay.
26 qualities.
Jai.
Deliberate spiritual intelligence.
Deliberate spiritual intelligence.
Sunday at 4 o'clock. Every Sunday at 4 o'clock.
Every Sunday, 4 o'clock.
Oh,
Yes. Regulative principles. How many?
Best club in town.
Huh?
Best club.
Oh, best club in town!
Yeah.
We're about to start partying.
Oh!
We're all
With
addicts.
Krishna consciousness.
We're all addicts.
We're all addicts. We're trying to fix it. We're trying.
No, we don't want to fix this addiction. This is one we want to stick.
We gotta change our addiction.
Krishna addict.
Remind of Krishna. Anything else? What else stuck out before that?
Repeated hearing always fresh.
Say that again?
Surrender to Krishna.
Surrender to Krishna.
Repeated hearing always fresh.
Repeated hearing, always fresh.
Yes.
Always cleansing.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna